Let's get into the action momentarily here. The New York Excelsior versus the Shanghai Dragons. And in all seriousness as well, there's a lot on the line for both of these teams. And yeah, I think watching the match the other day as well, I think honestly I came up with more questions for Shanghai than I did, or not more questions, but I guess more feelings of doubt in my heart for Shanghai comparative to New York as a team. Because New York were like, okay, we're going to play the Lucio Moira Rush. But what's your takeaway overall then?
Well, I think the main community feeling was similar, Brent, that a lot of people were wondering why Shanghai was so seemingly boneheaded in terms of having Fleder constantly running the Soldier 76, running so much Wrecking Ball on Fate, but they had a counter-strat. It didn't work, but they thought that they had some kind of counter-strat against the Dallas Fuel's Rush composition. Now, that didn't happen, it didn't work out, and so they're not going to run the same things in this match. They've already demonstrated an ability to play Orisa composition. They already realized that those wouldn't work. So they were trying something new, trying to throw in a theoretical, theory-crafted composition. And that also failed. So now we're going to see whether Shanghai have taken a step forwards towards Lucio Moira or a step backwards towards their comfort picks of Fate being on the Orisa. I'm really interested because I think either way you slice it, they have an advantage over New York. But New York did play well yesterday.
They did, yeah. Let's welcome some of those starters as well, the team that they're going to be rolling out with today. And there is an interesting player here. Ivy is playing in the lineup here. I think the last time he played, yeah, go on, Josh.
Yep. Well, yeah, I was just about to say the last time he played. The last time he played was on Junkertown as Genji. So I simply do not know what on earth they're going to come out with here. As far as I'm aware, that was the last time that he was fielded, was he came out playing against the Seoul Dynasty and played Genji, trying to blade into the crazy kind of hog compositions that Seoul was playing that week. I think it was week 7. I don't believe he's been fielded since then. I could be wrong. He might have been slipped in here or there. He has been on a bit of a rotation, but it's definitely unusual to see them not field Feather and Flora to begin.
Certainly is quite interesting. Let's take a look at their opponents here, the Shanghai Dragons, a team that we've been gassing up the entire season long, and it's a team that's looking to bounce back from some popular community narratives that they're just kind of deciding their compositions through a blind game of darts. But yeah, we'll see if they're able to showcase a little bit more, I think, in this series. And I think they're going to be looking, obviously, a lot better, I think, playing up against a familiar opponent, like New York playing in the same region as them. It's going to be kind of like familiar territory almost, I suppose. Like, despite that these teams haven't played much in 2021 against one another, they most likely have scrimmed against each other, at least in some capacity.
Definitely.
So they're going to be comfortable with each other and how they play. And you would think that that would lean more towards an advantage for the Shanghai Dragons.
Yeah, I like to think that the Shanghai Dragons were picking their comps against the Dallas Fuel by just getting on a Ouija board and attempting to communicate with the spirit of DM who left the team. And he's just like, play Soldier 76, play the hit scan. And they're just powerless to control it, and Fleder has to lock the legs. Otherwise, DM will come back and do unspeakable things, haunt the team forever. All right, we're going to be heading to Busan, though, and that is the Shanghai Dragons pick here because they are the higher seed coming out of the East. And, Brent, we are only casting West versus West and East versus East today. It's going to be Matt and Mitch later on taking on the clash between the regions. But we've only really got a feel for domestic rivalries happening here at the June Joust, something that didn't happen very often in the May Melee. At the May Melee, Dallas never played against Florida Mayhem once. And here we have Dallas playing against Atlanta and Shanghai playing against New York. But things have changed for these two teams. We saw 0 Moira Lucio essentially being played in the APAC region, in the Eastern region. And now the good word has spread. Like missionaries to the East, Dallas Fuel have trekked out and spread the gospel. Is anyone listening? Is anyone paying attention? Seems like New York might be.
Yeah, New York are one of the teams. They did surprise me with their rolling out of this the other day, because I was anticipating some very kind of
Orisa Zarya?
different compositions. Well, maybe not. I mean, hopefully, I don't want to see the Orisa Zarya really too.
But they have played weird stuff.
They have played weird stuff. You are correct, and I was anticipating that. But it seems like these teams are now kind of settled, I suppose, on this one. You can see the teams getting started. Here's the thing. Lip is now late to this fight, actually. He's going to have to use his TP to try and catch up into them. It's going to give New York an advantage. They're jumping very quickly into this one, and Fate is going to be on the Wrecking Ball. We've seen him play this before in the past. That's going to be an easy fight. They bait in the aggression of New York and immediately capitalize.
And this is a little bit more towards what they were playing against Dallas. They were trying to run compositions that are similar, but Fate plays the Wrecking Ball. Now, part of the reason for this, I think, is that Fate's Winston hasn't looked as great recently. He is a very good, well-rounded main tank, but I think his Winston looks to be the weakest of his picks, in all honesty. But also, the Wrecking Ball is fantastic at being able to disrupt rush teams if they are very one-dimensional. Because by pile driving through them, or by being able to just roll through them as well, you disrupt all of their spacing and you can capitalize on that. Against Dallas, it did not work because they're good. But against New York, they're just shredding them right now.
Yeah, it's so good. I was thinking about it the other day when I was watching this composition online. I mean, I can see the thought process behind this composition, like the Shanghai are running with the Wrecking Ball as like a centerpiece, because you're not privy. I suppose you're not reliant on like the cooldowns of your Winston leaping in, your bubble cooldowns to try and engage, your speed boost. You can fight more often when you're running this Wrecking Ball. It disrupts and kind of presses against a lot of the advantages of this comp.
Yeah.
If you play it in the manner that you've been describing as well, Josh.
You're also wasting abilities from New York, because when they try and initiate, you pile drive them, concuss them, and they're just in the air, and there's nothing that they can do. The problem is that against top teams, they're able to anticipate it and outplay it. So that's the challenge now for New York. They've got a first pick here, though. It was on to Fleder.
Yeah, that bomb as well. The South Destruct comes over the side. Another big pile driver. And yeah, that's going to be essentially zero value being gained here from New York's Coalescence, but oh, okay, they are able to just pressure themselves out onto the point now. 75% encounter. They need to take out Fade. Eventually, they will do so. Shanghai opting to try and take this fight, though. You see the duplicate being used. Fleder's going to have another self-destruct here. Friday, okay, sensed that it might have been getting a little bit sticky there. Has to opt into using that self-destruct. Still on the point, though. They're not able to just take them off just yet. Fleder eventually taken out of that duplicate form. Fate coming back in with the pile driver. Ivy is gone. 96%. New York forced to try and take out Lip in the backline here, but okay, Fleder's doing still a decent amount of work, and somehow, Josh, they brought it to 99%.
And that is ridiculous. And they're also not out of the fight yet. Thankfully, Fleder does fall, and New York are going to be able to take control of this. It felt like New York should have been able to win it ages ago, but instead they just grapple control back towards themselves and start ticking things up for the blue team. I'm buying into the red and blue narrative that the desk set early on in the day.
Yeah.
The blue buff. Historically, it's worked.
It has historically. I mean, historically, Shanghai went Norton 40, I should say.
Oh, okay. All right. Now we're in Narrative City, in a dreamland.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean. It plays into the stats. But anyway, Fate initiating him with the mines. It's going to be locking up a decent portion of the point here. Coalescence comes through. He's in a very weird position here. I mean, he's not really healing up his team for the engagement, but he's definitely putting a lot of pressure into them with that power drive. I mean, they just set up the kill here for Fleder. Comes through with the beam. Sound barrier on top as well. They've got all the health in the world to work with. And yeah, no fade for Jonak. It's going to be a point flipped over for them with 99%. The overtime ticks over. The beam just to catch on the feather. Going straight down off the point, and that's going to be the round on the board now for the Shanghai Dragons.
And this, in some sense, is a bit of validation for Shanghai. They caught a lot of flack for trying to run these Wrecking Ball compositions yesterday, and I think it was, in some sense, very reasonable, because you had Fleder playing Soldier 76, he was a major target, the team comp was all over the place, but also I think yesterday credit needed to be given to their opponents, because now you see Shanghai playing the same, similar, at least, kind of stuff against New York, and it's ripping New York to pieces. The teams that Shanghai have been scrimming against, Korean contenders teams, OWL teams in the Korean region, and generally speaking, the entire APAC region as well, they probably can't deal with what Shanghai are doing right now. It's just that the Western teams are a little bit different. So Shanghai, they come out again here. Fleder playing Soldier 76. I don't know whether this excites or inspires fear in the hearts of Shanghai fans.
They're doubling down. They want to showcase what this comp can do. And to be fair, the theory of it could be quite sound to an extent as well. You're kind of trying to... Wow, okay, that was optimistic, Ivy. That was incredibly optimistic with that one. And now Lip just on a tear. This guy on McCree. I mean, I can't really think of too many players who are scarier to face off in the league. His McCree is really up there with some of the best.
It is.
And yeah, this
Absolutely
is the concept of Shanghai's composition, I think, as well. You're on a double hit scan, you're on this wrecking ball. It's so hard to lock down any one target. And assuming you rotate well, you can just keep poking and poking and poking. And if the team isn't that good at running this rush comp like New York are, they're going to take all this damage, they're going to get whistled down, they're going to mess up their engagements. That's the theory behind it. We're finally seeing it in practice.
Yes, now what Dallas did yesterday was they were able to isolate Fleder, Lib, Izzyaki, and just pick them off one by one. They weren't worried about the objective, they just were worried about going fast and finding kills. Fleder and Lib are always going to be on off angles, so you can always isolate individuals like that. And now New York, they're starting to do it. They're working their way around, they've picked off Void, now Lijiang gone, now they go towards the objective, but they haven't really taken out these damage dealers.
Yeah, that mine almost brought Friday down, actually. And still, this point's going to get contested. I mean, it is this whittling down effect now. You can see the ult's being used, and that is the nano boost onto Lijiang on. If there's any Lucio player you want the nano boost on, it's probably this guy. But what can he do with it? That's the question. He's putting in the consistent chip damage. Fleder obviously committed that ultimate a little bit earlier. New York still committing ultimates to win this fight. It felt like they won this team fight eons ago, yet they haven't been able to flip it now. 70% and counting for the Shanghai Dragons. We see Feather actually ended up duplicating over to the Lucio. Didn't get the boot off, got taken out of the form before he could get the ultimate off, and Shanghai have brought this fight back.
Oh, this is ridiculous, Bren. New York have struggled with their focus fire, and Shanghai are running rings around them. Lijiang has stayed alive up until right now, sucked down by Jonak from long range with that biotic grasp. And New York surely are going to be able to flip this in the end. Fate and Void contesting, but New York's damage, they've moved over to the Reaper and the Echo. They need to contest. They have an ability to take a final team fight. Yakpung, no, surely do not die with that Primal Rage, sir. He pops it just to stay alive at the end.
But he's been whistled down so quickly, and now another nano boost built up here. Izzyaki, going to be layering that one onto Void. Dodge the South Destruct around the corner, come back round as well. And they haven't really dealt with Lip in the slightest. Feather and Ivy are down. Too much damage going to be missing here from New York Excelsior. And yeah, with Bianca gone, that is going to be the map. The Shanghai Dragons. What a play from them, I think, as well. A bit of vindication from the Shanghai Dragons in terms of showcasing exactly what they had in mind with that composition. And they're going to be leading the series 1-0.
Exactly, and that, I think, the opening map there at Busan showcases the theory behind what Shanghai want to do. The problem is that it didn't really work in reality, and going back to the battle of the minds on the desk between Custer and Reinforce, Custer said he wanted to see Shanghai really go hardcore towards the meta. And Jonathan said they're more likely to carry on playing the same stuff they've been winning with. Instead, we actually saw them play the same stuff they've been losing with, but making it work. So a rare third decision reared its head there for Shanghai. But it does actually bring them the win, and there's still the whole of the rest of this series for them to try and diversify in either direction.
I guarantee you Danny predicted that outcome exactly. Somewhere in the mountains, at the beach, somewhere in Hawaii. Danny all-knowing. Anyway, we're going to see how this series is going to be progressing after the break, ladies and gentlemen. Don't go anywhere. We're going to find out if New York are going to be able to bounce back.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest and fastest 5G network. Set your sights on the competition with T-Mobile. The Overwatch League is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official refreshment of the Overwatch League, and by IBM, the official cloud and AI partner of the Overwatch League. The MVP himself, it's Fleta.
Fleta now taking the clutch into his own hands. The minerals of the man. Taking the clutch into his own hands.
Someone stop this man!
Taking the clutch into his own hands.
Oh no, don't do it to the man!
Taking the clutch into his own hands.
That's clutch with consistency. That's bonkers.
The headshot after headshot after headshot.
That's bonkers.
Taking the clutch into his own hands.
And you've got to be kidding me, man!
Taking the clutch into his own hands. You absolute madman!
That's bonkers.
The headshot after headshot
After headshot! After headshot! After headshot!
after headshot.
That's bonkers.
I do not believe what we have just witnessed.
Mixtape's coming to you quite soon. Don't know who's going to be distributing it, but let's take a look at our Indeed player resume for Fleta. Yep, this guy. I mean, he just injects the sound bites into my head. I mean, he just creates magic on the screen, doesn't he? This guy, 2020 League MVP, 2020 Role Star, and Damage. The accomplishments are numerous, and yeah, I mean, he puts up the big numbers. And so far in this game, definitely been showcasing that, you know, he can do it all, even the legs, even the Soldier 76, Josh.
Yeah, absolutely. It was definitely a hero selection that he was much criticized for yesterday. And now you're seeing the theory behind it. The question whenever you come up with an anti-strat like that against Winston, Lucio, Moira, D.Va, or against anything, if you come up with an anti-strategy, the question is, does it work against everyone? Does it work? Is it scalable? It might work against teams that can't punish you, but does it work against the entire section of every team? Does it work against the best in the world? For Shanghai, it failed yesterday. And so I'm interested over the course of this match to see whether Shanghai are going to commit to that style and just try and make it better to the point where it can beat Dallas, which I think will be a serious task. Or, I mean, and Atlanta, because they would be going up against them too, but whatever. Or are we going to see them kind of change things up? Are we going to see Shanghai move to meta? Are we going to see them mirror the Winston D.Va comps? Are we going to see them shift back towards Orisa compositions? There are so many ways that both of these teams could pivot from here, because the meta really has been wide open in the APAC region. They have had a long time to figure out the June Joust, and they opted for very different solutions than the Western teams did.
Truly did, yeah. I hope they roll out with this one that they're teasing us with. Fate on the Hog.
Oh, why not?
Fleta on the Doomfist.
Hey, Gesture was doing it. Why can't Fate?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
The other part to this too, Brent, is that Ivy has continued to be fielded here. And like I said to open, that is unusual. Normally you would expect Flora. And I'm wondering what the reasoning behind this is. So far, Ivy has only played Reaper. He's again going to be on Reaper for defense here. Is this maybe so he can flex onto a Genji if Fate does pull out the Orisa? I don't know. There's still questions here about why this change has been made for NYXL as well.
Yeah. I mean, they still are quite uncertain in terms of their composition. Fate is rolling back and forth. Okay. A little bit of role play in the spawn door. Okay, making the swaps. Okay.
All right.
All right, playing
Atlanta
the Orisa comp now. Yeah, the Atlanta Reigns comp that they were pulling out.
With the Brig and the Moira as well, so they're just going for an incredibly defensive, tanky setup here. And New York are going to have their work cut out for them. How good does Shanghai look when they run this kind of stuff? Domestically, within the Eastern region, Shanghai looked incredible when they were running Orisa compositions.
Fleta's going for the hammer kill. I mean, that is just absolutely disrespectful. I know we were picking them up there on the Indeed player resume, but to go out with that in a playoff match, I mean, the guy's cool, calm, and collected, and they've separated Ivy. He's out of the way, gone, and now they can begin to just bunker down onto the point, and this is where this comp really becomes problematic. Stationary, the fight has to be taken to them, and New York now going to be committing ultimates. Feather over to the D.Va, has to build up this South Destruct. Coalescence comes through from Izayaki slightly earlier now. Jonak building one of his own. Comes through, might have it now available for them. And Shanghai taking a fight in this corridor. Prime opportunity to get value out of this Coalescence. This turret's up, it's going to be pumping in the damage. The South Destruct as well. Somehow doesn't get any kills, but Lip now, the Death Blossom, surely that might just end it here. Yakpung has built up this Primal Rage though, and he's going to be trying to make it work, but yeah, melted almost instantly there. And this will be the Shanghai Dragons taking away this point.
And this is one of the reasons why I feel this Moira Lucio composition didn't take hold in the East. The teams aren't great at it. It doesn't fit their style. And New York, even with that 75-second coalescence that could have given them the opportunity to get back into the team fight, they just cannot find a way to pick apart the Shanghai Dragons. They're not generating their ults in the same fast way and finding opportunities. And Ivy, he moves over to the Doomfist and is immediately sent back to spawn.
Yep, tried to get the punch engage as soon as that supercharger was down, but just obliterated. Izayaki with a coalescence. Oh, he's going to be making quick work of this one. Obviously, it fades away, but the team's still alive. Now, he's added a fade, punishable. They're doing a reasonable job of it. Now they force out the second fade. But Jonak goes down now. Izayaki punched against the wall. Ivy coming back in, but eventually he will fall. Void sending in that self-destruct, pushing them away for the time being. Feather using that duplicate as well, just moving over to the Diva. He has built up the bomb in time, but he's going to be taken out of that form, and now the shield blocked up a lot of it. 89% and counting here for the Shanghai Dragons. They just need to clear New York away from the point. Jonak, though, with his coalescence, is doing a very good job of putting in consistent damage. It might be enough for New York to try and come back into this one, though. Ivy has to get some work done. Brought down as he tries to get the engage. In the end, no one's really able to deal with Lip. And now only a couple of players left. The bubble is what stands between Shanghai and capping up this point. And now with the Molten Core laid down, that is going to be all the damage they need to get that 3 minutes, 43-second time bank.
Izayaki was barely in the fight. He got killed at the beginning by Ivy, and then he got killed again by Jonak towards the end of that. And so they were subsisting purely off Lucio heals for the majority of that team fight, both at the beginning and then at the end after a middle portion with Moira involved. That's kind of ridiculous. Lip was not punished, sat around on 20 health, just existing via his lifesteal and the Lucio heals from Lee Jigon, and yet he was still pumping in work, pumping in damage. The focus fire just off a little bit there for NYXL, and they can't stop the Shanghai Dragons from essentially rolling through them. And can you blame Shanghai at all for opting into Orisa comps when they are just dominating the eastern region with them? It feels too easy when they run these kind of plays. No one has figured out domestically how to beat them here. Fate looks solid as a rock when he plays this character. And Lip is surely not going to be playing Pharah.
Okay, yeah, he moves away from it.
Never seen
I'm
that
left
before.
wondering here. Yeah. It would be quite interesting. I mean, just teasing us. Ivy, though, this guy, I mean, we saw him on Checkpoint B, actually, in the defense. Maybe this is the reason that this guy's being fielded for, like, the Doomfist option. Now, if I recall back, it is in his wheelhouse ever so slightly, but it didn't work out for him. I mean, he got picked off almost immediately. They were ready for it.
Yeah.
Trying to get the same value, perhaps, that Dallas were, obviously, with Sparkle.
I think that's the goal, yeah.
Yeah.
Ivy's their flex player that can move over to the Genji or the Doomfist when required. I think New York are trying to emulate Dallas, but with such little time to be able to prepare and scrim opposition that aren't as good as those teams, it's really hard to catch up and be a fantastic Moira Lucio team straight off the bat.
Shanghai opting to just take this fight straight to them. Normally, you don't want to be fighting too far around this corner, I suppose, because you can cut yourself off from your team's heals, but obviously the Shanghai Dragons quite disciplined now, just backing off now to the platform. They might have to give up this high ground position. Missing the shield? No, they don't want to opt into that just yet. They're just going to be holding on for now. But as a result of all that damage and no casualties, Jonak builds up the coalescence very quickly, and that's what they're going to be using to try and push through. It doesn't get too much done here. All it does is allow them to reposition to the high ground, and now they can start to maybe approach from this angle, but they've been yoinked back down again. Fate with the halt has just completely put a stop to this.
New York got baited there completely. When we talk about trying to bait teams into taking bad engagements, that's what we mean. Shanghai there, they were completely set up for a coalescence engage. They realized that Jonak was getting close, so Izayaki backed off, took high ground, Lee Jigon repositioned, the tanks backed off a little bit, and then as they pushed, everybody went for Fleta, who just waddled away with his overload and set down a turret that essentially absorbed the whole of the coalescence. New York used their most important tool to be able to win that team fight, and now they have to wait another 30 seconds for Jonak to have another online.
Tough task for them, really. I mean, they've got some ultimates to work with, but the boot comes back as Yakpunk tries to engage. Feather moves over to the D.Va, no surprises there again. A regular occurrence. Better get used to seeing multiple D.Va bombs on the field because it's coming online for a lot. The D.Va's in the battlefield here. Feather tries to just kind of initiate and int into them, but taken out of the form almost immediately. And now we see Lip using that Death Blossom, the Supercharger laid down as well. New York have to use a sound barrier to try and survive the onslaught of damage that's coming their way, and it's looking potentially quite good for them. Feather gets the kill onto Lee Jae Gong, but with this Amp Matrix down, how are they going to be playing into this one? This window is going to be causing all sorts of pain for them. And the Shanghai Dragons, again, are just able to secure this defense.
Void used a self-destruct in the middle of that team fight to try and break apart the New York Excelsior's engage. Ivy got split off from the rest of his team. He popped Wraith too early before the bomb came out, and he just ran into the middle of the Shanghai Dragons, tried to Death Blossom, and died to the self-destruct. Very, very sad scenes there from Ivy. A minute left here. They could try and go for a self-destruct engage out from this mega room, buy up a bit of poke damage that they can convert into coalescence, but things are looking desperate here for New York.
Yeah, they've got to come up with something here. Yakpun's taking so much damage just trying to cross into this room, and now obviously going to be, but they didn't get the kill, so Jonak is going to be able to build up this coalescence, and this has to be big. You can see Ivy setting up for the teleport onto the high ground. It's an instant read from them. Void straight away, it's going to be diving straight into his face, but backing off now to the rest of them. Ivy, though, shield bashed up into the corner. He had Wraith form, but he couldn't pop it in time. And now that's exactly where Shanghai want to be taking that fight. Lip with the Death Blossom, just baiting New York right into the close quarters fight again. 20 seconds left. Where are the answers?
I do not know, Brent. I simply do not know, and neither do the NYXL. Lip moving over to Doomfist to finish this one out, as he can get back to the objective fairly quickly. And New York are pushing in with a duplicate and a dream.
That Supercharger and the multi-core. Good luck trying to push into that one. The overtime's going, and eventually someone's going to have to drop down a touch, but that is a death sentence. Yakpun on 1 health. He's on the high ground. He's just trying to stay alive, but he dies to the turret. That is going to be the map. Shanghai Dragons with a fantastic defense, showcasing that, yeah, I mean, this is a team that obviously, when they play in these international tournaments, they're looking a little bit weaker. They're playing against unfamiliar teams, but against some of the teams that they're comfortable against, that they scrim against on a regular basis, it's just a walk in the park for this squad, it seems like. Obviously, the series isn't over just yet, but the 2-0 scoreline is very, very convincing thus far.
And the manner in which they were able to get those wins too, absolutely. Shanghai looking indomitable when it comes to these Orisa slow-paced bunker compositions.
Absolutely, yeah. We're going to be finding out on the other side of the break if New York Excelsior can pull off the unthinkable. Are they going to be able to maybe just get this reverse sweep started by securing the next map? Or is it going to be the Shanghai Dragons closing it out and moving deeper into the tournament? We're going to find out on the other side of the break. Don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. You don't want to miss it.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest and fastest 5G network. Set your sights on the competition with T-Mobile. And by Xfinity, the preferred internet provider of the Overwatch League. The Overwatch League is brought to you by Pringles. Stay in the game. And by NetApp, the official data management partner of the Overwatch League.
The Frag video contest is back. We want to see your best compilation videos of the top frags from the June Joust Tournament for a chance to win $3,000. You can find out more at blizzard.wishpond.com/June-Joust. So get your submissions in. We have so many talented members of the Overwatch community when it comes to like editing skills and really showcasing their stuff here. I remember we were judging one of the older ones as well last year, Josh, as well. There was a lot of people as well submitting some interesting clips. I got to see a lot of gold ranked gameplay. I don't really think they understood the mission that we had set out, but you know, I think it's distilled down properly now. Let's take a look at our power rankings of IBM, Watson, and Izayaki, Lijigon, and Jonak actually is creeping into this one. Important to note here as well, if you think about the New York Excelsior, Jonak, obviously the longest standing player that's on this roster for New York, and also the one with the most experience in these scenarios, arguably.
Yeah, this is a team that's full of rookie talent in the NYXL this year. They rebuilt, they added pieces like Yakpung, who was making a return to the league, Bianca, a player who hadn't really fulfilled his potential, Friday, a fresh rookie from a team that hadn't even done that well. So this team overall, though, really will value this experience. Even if they go on to lose Numbani here, which they may do, the Dragons have the 5th fastest time, but even if New York went on to lose Numbani, they will still have gathered valuable experience from even being in this stage final. It's just good for new players to be able to get a feel for what it's like hanging with the big dogs up at the top.
Absolutely, and yeah, as you can see there from our map leaderboard presented by Xfinity, Shanghai quite dominant. I mean, obviously a lot of time set against them, but that's in the past, you know, when the team was radically different, and more similarities to be taken from last year. And this team definitely quite comfortable on Numbani. And from what we saw in that last map as well, we're going to need to see something a little bit extra, I think, from New York coming out here. As the old Americans say, Josh, what do they say? They pull up the bootstraps. They got to, you know, get to work and do other stuff. I don't know what Americans say. I barely listen to them. But yeah,
they need to pull themselves up by the bootstraps.
That's it. Yeah, classic.
There
classic.
We go.
Yeah.
Classic New York phrase, I'm sure.
As well, I just realized as well that a large portion of our viewership is going to be coming from North America and Americans in general, and hardly any from Europe because of the time zone of this, so I apologize.
You're outnumbered.
Slightly. Yeah, I am outnumbered. Yeah, I realized I'm going to slowly back away from those comments as we're looking at the setup here of New York and Shanghai.
I'm interested, Bren, thinking about this game from Atlanta's point of view. They're looking at this, they're thinking, all right, we're probably going to be playing against the Shanghai Dragons here, barring an incredible reverse sweep from New York. Do we want to play against them on the Rush mirror, or do we want to try and play against them on Orisa comps? That, I think, is a really interesting strategic question, and something that Shanghai will have to battle with as they move forward into the lower bracket final, potentially. But they can't overthink themselves. They still need to convert here on Numbani. And NYXL are running the Doomfist composition again here. Ivy really hasn't been able to fight too much with it so far, just a couple of times on the
Oh, the engagement comes through with the power driver. You can see that dodge came through, actually. The fade was used pretty early on, and yeah, Ivy's looking for value, but has to disengage. Has to use the seismic slam to just get back away. Normally you want to be taking the fight on the high ground, but this time, New York baited into the corner and Shanghai on the attack. Well, they are the ones who are large and in charge, in control of this point. Yeah, that's going to be easy peasy for them. It definitely feels like Ivy playing might be some sort of niche pickup, essentially, to try and like lean into some of Ivy's comfort picks, like Doomfist, to try and counteract what Shanghai are running with these kind of rush comps, but it just is not working. The punish is there almost every single time. New York seem to not really have the discipline necessary to keep him alive.
It's weird. It's almost like Ivy was anticipating Shanghai to be running a different composition, because the Doomfist is not particularly effective against Shanghai's comp right now. There are niche ways that you can... So... Excuse me? Okay. Very odd scenario. Haven't seen something like that happen before. I guess Feather and Friday must be having tech issues and they fell off the side somehow?
Okay.
They must have done. So All right, bit of a pause here as we probably try and get them back into the game. That is an unusual scenario for sure, and unfortunate for New York. But I mean, yeah, really unlucky scenario for them.
That is very, very unfortunate. Yeah, that is quite unusual.
Yeah.
I believe we're trying to get the game actually back to a state where that might not have happened, but I'm not too sure actually. It might just be, unfortunately, a tech issue caused them to actually run forwards when they were trying to rotate and maybe got sent off the map for both Feather and Friday at the same time. That is really, really quite unfortunate if that is the case.
I mean, that's devastating for a team that's already in a rough scenario, but I think let's just... while the tech issues get resolved, I want to pose that question to you again, Brendan, and dig into it a little more. Put yourself in the shoes of the Atlanta Reign watching this game. You know that you're playing against the winner, and so at this point, it makes most sense to be thinking about the Shanghai Dragons as your potential opponent, right? If you're Atlanta, judging by what we just saw from them in their game against Dallas, would you rather try and match Orisa comps against Shanghai on a map like Temple of Anubis, or are you going to try and opt into playing the Moira Lucio comp and disassembling it? We can already see that when you're at the level of New York, Shanghai's Orisa comps seem impossible to crack, but Dallas was able to kind of dismantle them. So how confident do you think Atlanta Reign should be looking at this game?
I would imagine that they are feeling still quite confident coming into this, despite the fact that Shanghai obviously are pretty dominant in this game that we've seen. If I was to speculate a little bit, I would say that it's probably, I think, in a situation right now where Atlanta Reign, they know that they're really good at the rush comp. They know that they're really good at the Orisa comp. I think they're going to have complete confidence in whatever essentially gets chucked at them. Because it seems like as well that Shanghai have ideas of what they might want to run in a moment, but in terms of their actual execution, it's just lacking from some of these other teams. And it's not like Atlanta got blown out by Dallas in the game earlier today. I mean, they put up very comparable performances, I think, in the team fights. There was some very winnable maps. But enough about me talking about speculating about potential future matches that may or may not happen. Let's take a listen in at the comms check while we wait for this tech issue to get sorted out.
사운드 체크. 오케이. 굿샷.
크라미.
버너.
현미.
하이.
현미.
오케이. 악택.
1, 2, 알고 TP.
네네. IDK.
랠리 푸시.
Let's go, guys. We got this.
Equal, you got this. I
got this. No.
You got this.
Reaper God. You got this.
No, I got this.
No, you don't.
No,
No.
you don't. Going in. You bet me.
Hipster? Yeah, what's up? Can you mic check for everyone?
When you're actually coming, I'm on Reaper. I'm gonna copy.
I'm the copy.
Why are you guys not following me? Where are you guys?
Push!
Where are you guys? Oh, my team.
I'm drummer.
You?
Yeah, really good.
I don't think so.
How do you know?
Dang.
How do you know?
Again.
Oh my. Why am my aim so good? What happened?
What happened, Karan?
My aim so good.
I need to pause.
I think he stepped away. Oh, never mind. There's a big bug next to him.
There's a bug.
So that's a different kind of issue.
Emergency?
He's trying to take out the bug.
Oh my god, man. There's a moth on my monitor. Pissing me off.
Moth, you absolute legend! Wow!
I don't know what to do, to be honest.
God, you're unreal. Holy
This is
moly.
the first time I've heard this one. It won't go away. Or your mom. Jesus. Oh, my mom. Mom! What's you? Help me! You can do it, I believe in you.
Take his shoe and smack it across the face.
Man.
Can't you just kill the bug? Hello?
Oh, it's so big, man. Scary.
Put your mom and dad. Really? I'm serious. I would personally just take it out in 1 second, but we're not all the same.
I'm ready. Oh, I think I got it out. I lured it into the bathroom. I'm so
Okay,
sick.
nice.
Play us a tune right now, Gator.
I would, but that would risk spraining my hand. Or my shoulder or my something. And that's before I get my foot involved in the tapping.
Jeez.
To break a toe.
Going in.
Going in. Stop going in. Stop playing. Going in.
Going in.
Going in.
Going in. Oh, going in now. Okay, fighting.
On.
Go, go, go. I go.
Okay.
깔끔했다.
나이스. 손바닥 쳐주라, 재원.
일로와, 준아.
아 힘드네.
얘들아, 하와이 가자.
Welcome back from the break, everybody. Yeah, we're going to be heading back into the action shortly. We've obviously got to set up the server as well. A really unfortunate disconnect timing was what occurred there, and it meant that Friday and Feather just held down the W key, just hard sent it. You know, about to get the FBI involved. You know, maybe it could have been potentially a dangerous situation, but no, it was just internet problems. So we're getting it sorted. And we're going to take a look at trying to roll it back so that there's no disadvantage for New York. In the meantime, I believe we have a stat card for one of the players on Shanghai. We're going to distract you with pretty numbers at some point. Oh, here we go. Pretty numbers. Everybody look at them quickly and don't think about the pause.
I mean, genuinely look at those eliminations per 10, though. It doesn't get much prettier than that, does it? Void as Diva in this match. 31 eliminations per 10 compared to under 2 deaths per 10 minutes. That is crazy. I mean, he was just getting involved in everything that was happening over there. Primarily, at least it seemed like primarily on Anubis, but he's been playing Diva the whole way through. And yeah, it is kind of interesting though, Brent, because Shanghai were playing Void on Sigma a lot in the eastern region in the June Joust coming into this tournament. And certainly they've had to make the swap over to Void on Diva, if not moving, their entire composition over to the Moira Lucio at times. So the eastern teams and Shanghai have definitely had to adapt, and Void has not been excluded from that need to adapt. He certainly has evolved and is succeeding individually, at least.
Yeah. This guy's so skilled, I think, when it comes to the off-tank role. Able to keep up with a lot of the different meta switch-ups here. I imagine as well, we're going to be heading to a short break, at least to try and get this server set up so we can get the game underway and make sure, obviously, it's as fair as possible for both of these teams in this situation. Obviously not an ideal situation, but we appreciate your patience on this one. And on the other side of the break, obviously, hopefully, we'll have the game underway and ready and waiting as well. We know some of you guys as well have been waiting a long time for this one. So we'll see you in just a few minutes.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by the University of Hawaii at Manoa. Go to takemetomanoa.org today.
Welcome back from the break, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, I told you it wasn't going to be long, and yeah, we're ready to get into the game as well. Yeah, currently, Shanghai Dragons, just to remind you all as well, 5 minutes on the time back. They've just captured point A on Numbani. We're in map 3 right now, and New York Excelsior trying to set up now for a bit of a defense around the corner just before it all gets started. The teams are ready, as far as I'm aware, so we're going to be getting into the action momentarily. It's just a matter of time, I swear to you.
Yep, the Wizards behind the scenes have got everything sorted, and New York are ready to go. So we're off to the races here on Numbani. It is an unfortunate situation for them, but nevertheless, we are...
Well, here's the thing, Josh.
Just about.
They've iced the kicker. They've iced the kicker. It was
you love that phrase.
It was an incredible strategy from them, I gotta say. Yeah, I love to use the American sports ball references. But they've iced the kicker, and now Shanghai, they were on a blitzing warpath, and now, well, not going to be the case here. And you can see, oh,
nope.
just
going to disengage. It looks like there's been a gentleman's agreement here for Shanghai to pause until the NYXL players are ready to come back. So, you know, where tech fails, humanity restores the problems.
Yeah.
How's that for your Doomer AI theories, Bren? Look at that. Humanity prevails.
Sure. Yeah, humanity does prevail. You love to see it. There you go. Bit of sportsmanship there from the Shanghai Dragons.
Definitely.
Obviously shaving off a bit of the seconds, but the fight is going to take place straight away. And Ivy going for the punch. Lijigon is gone out of the fight. Not going to have that sound barrier for this one. Jonak going to be using that coalescence to try and keep the team alive, but Yakpong was already taking so much damage, and he's probably going to be next. There you go. The power driver damage is just too much to overcome. Duplicates comes out here. Feather very close to building up this next Ultima, but Fleda in the skies. Yeah, it's looking like a done deal here for the New York Excelsior. Last-ditch effort there from Feather, but he realizes, well, just got to reset this one, and now the car continues to move forwards.
Certainly does. 4 minutes, and this checkpoint B looks almost uncontestable here for New York. I don't know how they would manage to find a player in. It looked like Ivy was maybe in a position to go for something, but instead he's just going to set up on these stairs. If anyone tries to contest him up top, they could meet a very angry Doomfist with a right hook to the chin. But he's been spotted now, going to have to leave with his ultimate.
We see now the meteor strike comes into the back. Ivy actually didn't get really any damage at all on anyone. The big takeaway, though, Fleda did end up going down in this fight, so it's a good opening for them. And New York want to take this with an aggressive approach. The initiation comes in with the coalescence leading them in. Nice punch into the wall, catching on to Fate, bringing him down very low enough that Feather can finish up that kill as well. So finally, we see New York actually stopping the bleeding.
Yeah, good defense from them. They found a nice area of the map to take a team fight in. Ivy was able to get a lot of value. And yeah, they had to burn both support ultimates, but Shanghai... They're going to be pushing in here, yes, with an ultimate advantage, but the positioning is favorable towards the NYXL. And we've seen so far how good Primal Rages are to delay. Yakpong just needs to find the right timing to pop his.
Fleda close to this duplicate. They force New York into the staircase here. The Primal Rage from Yakpong just to keep the game going. Oh my goodness! That is ridiculous. He's going to be avoiding a bunch of that damage that Ivy was trying to send his way. In fact, now just assuming his role. In fact, he might even just try and do it a little bit better. Built up the Meteor Strike, avoids a big chunk of it going his way. Still, the fight is not over. New York still trying to win this fight out. In fact, they might just do it with Fleda going down. A Death Blossom in the back line. That is going to do that. 3 minutes now, 45 seconds roughly. Whittling it down, and it's important that New York ended up actually stopping them right here, because now you're on checkpoint C, you do have a bit of breathing room. It's one of the more difficult points to try and push through with Numbani. It's where you can start to really shave off some of these minutes that sometimes the attacker's going to accrue.
Everybody in NYXL positioned up top, going for an aggressive move now. But Shanghai, they've just dodged
it. Right?
It's just a ring of Rosie around the point.
They have to
and now
contest,
Fate and Void. They've flipped the map.
Yeah, they've just completely rotated positionings here. Coalescence from Jonak. He's sending it straight up into the sky, and it does enough damage that Fleda goes down. Not going to have that damage now for this next team fight. The Shanghai Dragons on the attack. They're missing a lot of what they were looking for to try and win out this team fight. Now the sound barrier comes in. Ivy with the seismic slam, the punch connects. Meteor Strike to try and save him there. It's going to be straight up into the sky, into the back line now. Another bit of damage into the support line. He can't punch into the mines though. Has to back away, and the South Stroke pushes them. Shanghai still taking this fight. Obviously, Fleda coming back into this one now. The Coalescence as well. New York, they can't stand up against this. It's way too oppressive for them still. You see the power drive attempt come through. That's actually the duplicate there from Feather just to try and stall this point out. But it's do or die time now for the New York Excelsior, and they just do not look like they've got the coordination to try and stop them here. A last-ditch effort. You can see Ivy going into the Wraith form, but eventually has to be pushed away, and it gives Lip the perfect timing he needed. They had nothing to stop that Death Blossom. 2 kills, might even get the third one if he's lucky enough. Fleder steals it away from him, but it matters not. 2 minutes on the clock there for the Shanghai Dragons. A rapid pace for Numbani.
Snarled up for only a couple of team fights, but as soon as NYXL positioned 5 people on the high ground and went for a bit of a weird aggressive maneuver without knowing where the Shanghai Dragons were, they lost vision on the attacking team, and then they pushed up top, potentially to try and catch Shanghai as they were coming off respawn, but I really don't exactly know what NYXL's plan was there, because they just got rotated on completely. Shanghai flipped the map, and then despite Fleder dying, they just continued to have better positioning for the entire engagement and drew it out. That's a very impressive time bank, and it sets Shanghai up perfectly to go on a 3-0 sweep into the lower bracket final.
Certainly does. And yeah, we had some questions as well, talking about, I guess, speculating in the pause, wondering about Shanghai Dragons in terms of what they're going to be doing. I suppose it was more in line of wondering what the Atlanta Reign might be doing against the winner of this this series, but that's for the future. That's coming up after this game. For now, the New York Excelsior are going to be worrying about how they can match this time bank on the attacking side. Here's a replay from earlier, actually. I think is this Fleder getting taken out of the fight, or no? It's him actually just dodging it.
Yeah. For anyone who's unaware of how good that play was, when you use the duplicate, you have a few moments of invulnerability. People just pass straight through you. Bullets pass straight through you. And so there, Ivy would have connected with the punch and potentially killed Fleder had he not gone for the duplicate at that exact moment. A gorgeous outplay.
Mitch was talking about it a little bit, actually, in a previous cast about the invulnerability frames. It's really important in fighting games, and it does apply. It's a very, very niche interaction. You don't see it often, but it played off big there, just showcasing the skill that Fleder has. He's up to 70% of his duplicate already, just from the spam damage, by the way, that they're sending in. And essentially, they're just trying to build up the coalescence on the side of New York off the back of it, but it affords Fleder the duplicate, which is a very key ultimate in stopping this coalescence engagement.
It is. It's a key strategy that the Atlanta Reign have also started employing as well.
Wait.
You would... Wow, he duplicates the Doom Fist in that scenario.
Doom Fist.
Jonak did not use Coalescence, so they've essentially baited that ultimate out of Fleder for 0 value there. Very nice play by NYXL. And now they can speed boost Coalescence, push themselves in.
Yeah, that's actually really good. Coalescence is now going to be used, and of course, Fleder doesn't have the duplicate to try and offset it, to try and actually counteract it. The healing comes through, so New York is nice and healthy. Bianca actually getting chunked down here. They're actually using the fade to dive into the backline onto Fleder. The uppercut will be the one that finishes him, but yeah, that separation. It means they can now take this team fight in a 6v5. Ivy coming straight across the point. Seismic slamming down once again. But this corner position that Fate's holding, the shield is going to get burst through eventually. Lip needs to be pressured off this, away from this angle here. He's just putting in that damage with that dynamite. Now the amplification matrix come through and the body block. Oh my goodness. I think Ivy meant to just send it straight through the amplification matrix, maybe getting that environmental kill in the process, but whether intentional or not, it was blocked in the end.
Yeah, Void swept his way in there, just body blocking, making sure that he connected with the punch instead of the recipient, who I think was Izzyaki, was who he was mainly going for.
I think he was aiming for anyone, because I mean, you send that punch over, they're going off they're going off the map. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's an insta kill essentially.
And NYXL have done a reasonably good job, but they've also ticked half their time, more than that, off the clock at this point. Now they're going to be able to push with a huge amount of ultimate. But what I noticed yesterday from New York when they were playing against Atlanta is that they love to go really deep into the streets instead of just holding the position that they have. And here we go again, a really deep push, and Feather's already done.
Holy moly. Yep. Feather ends up going down with that engage. It was quite a one-dimensional dive, but it could still work out for them. And now they're committing the sound barrier as well. Lip needs to go down here. Finally, they're rewarded with the kill. A minute left now, ticking down. The res, though, does not get denied, so Izzyaki is back in this fight. Shanghai still able to contest this now. The tanks are still alive. High ground going to be pressured tons here. Ivy, I think, maybe pulled by the halt there of Fate, so couldn't actually connect that that punch onto Void like he maybe wanted. Still in the action, 85% in counting though, just trying to push them away from the point, and they get the capture.
Big duplicate from Feather. Massive supercharger as well to finish that one out. How on earth can you push into an Orisa there as well as the Winston Weaver, especially when Feather has a supercharger that he can lay down in front of your face? So it's slow, it's methodical. Well, I mean, part of it was slow. When the New York Excelsior actually committed, they committed insanely deep. But overall, it took them a long time, I guess being my point. And NYXL now want to really keep this momentum going. Look how advanced they are up top. Lee Jae-gong got splattered. He's just a mess on the wall.
They're taking this fight in Checkpoint C, Josh. Checkpoint C. Obviously, the card is getting a bit of free push here, but this is a 5v6 fight. Look at the pace from New York. Really completely necessary. This is lovely play.
But they have to make sure that they're not punished. You need to be in and out when you're doing this kind of stuff. You don't want to commit to a long, brawly engagement deep in their spawn where they have the spawn advantage and many players coming through. So ideally, you want to be in, get a pick, reset back out. They have another one onto Fleta though.
Oh my goodness, it's chaos. I mean, good luck trying to figure out what's going on here. The South shots are coming through. Bianca might be committing one of his own, but they cap it up. That was Feather alone, I believe, just walking it in. And it worked out. It played off for the New York Excelsior. 3.5 minutes now pushing this one in. They could get a comparable time back here with Shanghai.
It's a really nice time back coming into the final stretch, and they haven't had to use many ultimates. That was just a dry push going in all the way to Checkpoint C there. And now they've got 6 players on the payload. They can push forwards once again. Massive ultimate advantage here. New York can really close this out right here, right now.
They flipped up the positioning again. The uppercut. Right underneath the doorway. Just flying up into the air, just missing the punch though. Ivy really showcasing all the tech he can to try and win out this fight. Now it's going to be the trade up here, but they get the kill onto Izzyaki as he faded into the enemy's backline. Essentially the positioning's being reversed there. The Wraith Form onto Lip, not enough to escape from that fight. So a 1 engagement here from the New York Excelsior. Now they need to set themselves up for good to try and close this.
Lip and Lee Jae gone. They have the rally and then potentially the Death Blossom. If Lip can get in a good position.
They're doing a very good job of mitigating Ivy here. Pushing him away. Meteor Strike comes down. It only connects onto a couple of the tanks. Ivy so low in a very dangerous position. Has to back away there with the punch. The ults are coming online here for New York and they haven't lost anyone. So still in the fight, and now Feather on the Diva. See if he can build up this South Destruct. Could be pretty crucial in trying to win this one out. Now to Coalescence here. Jonak wants to heal his team back up. The bomb's going to be laid down gently on top of the cart just to push away the positioning of Shanghai again, but they bide their time effectively now. Still trying to take the fight in the corridor. Not going to be working out for them. Still, they have the ultimates, and again, they're going to be pushing them away. New York do not want to give up in the slightest. Still trying to fight this.
They certainly are. Void with a pick onto Friday. That was just as the sound barrier was trying to come through as well. Oh no, Friday falls.
That is brutal.
Jonak so weak now, and Shanghai, they've muscled their way back into this one. Oh, what an unfortunate circumstance for the NYXL. They looked like they had a snowball going there, but they will not capture with more time on the clock. That is for certain. And at this point, it's looking rough for them capturing at all. What is this Shanghai comp? The Moira and the Brigitte together with this kind of rush comp, but a wrecking ball. It's just chaos.
It is chaos. Yeah, I'll refer back to the previous point that I was talking about. Darts, blind game darts to decide the composition. It's up to you to decide whether or not it's correct, but it might just be working in the moment here. Fate bashed back there from the punch. The mines to be used here just to... Again, New York can't really dive into that, obviously, at all. They have to wait again, and the time bank already being whistled down to what it is, they can't really afford to lose any more time. You can see now, rotating all the way around. Fate was ready for it, got the power driver as they're trying to get this kill now onto Lee Jae-gong. They will be rewarded with it. Coalescence had to be committed, but now it's a better one here from Izzyaki. And Izzyaki is going to beam down Feather in the process. It's a long drawn-out fight, a long drawn-out engagement, and the longer it gets, the better it's going to be for Shanghai.
Oh, but Fleta taken down. Yakpunk with a great kill there. Just as Fleta was about to approach duplicate form and could have extended this one out. NYXL, they must finish with time on the clock here. Otherwise, a draw is the best they can hope for on Numbani.
They need to try and finish it out, but it's so close. The bodies are just stalling it. Fleder as well on the Diva. It's going to be uppercut and pushed away for the moment, but now the stall comes through. Fate comes down. That's going to be the self-destruct built up. Fate trying to bash them and push them into the positioning of this self-destruct. Still, the fight continues, the overtime. You have to close this out here and now, New York, to stay into this one. Ivy, desperation play coming in through. Now the punch might just connect. Indeed, it does. Still, they need to get a couple of more kills. Now the mines come through. Fate, he might have just turned this. The self-destruct, they pushed them off the point. Shanghai walking away with the 3-0. And that's going to be the GGs in the chat there. And you can see the players' faces. I mean, New York realized, well, that is going to be it for us in this tournament. Shanghai Dragons going to be moving further forwards. Obviously, it's a long road ahead yet. They're going to be going up against the Atlanta Reign in the lower bracket.
A clear tier difference in the Eastern region, though, between the #1 seed and the #2 seed here. The Shanghai Dragons outclassed the NYXL, even though New York were running what we would consider to be a meta composition. And I think this match showcased, Bren, that you can't just pick the right heroes. You also have to have had a lot of practice on the composition. You have to also have the right players in the right positions and a good understanding of how to play the comp.
Yeah.
All of these things have to come together. It's not, the game is not won at the hero select screen. And NYXL, even though they bow out of the June Joust Tournament without winning a map, I still think that this is pretty decent experience for this squad, especially for the rookie talent coming in. Unfortunately, Flora didn't get to play today, but he was in the squad yesterday as well. And overall, this team now has that feel of what it's like to go up against the big dogs in these big matches. Yeah. Nevertheless, it's Shanghai that take it away. Experience wins this time around.
Yeah, and it's that experience that's so important, I think, when you're heading into these tournament situations. It's a massive factor in terms of how comfortable you might be adapting in these high-pressure scenarios when your back is against the wall, when you're literally about to get knocked out. And yeah, in this case, it was the Shanghai Dragons who were the ones who persevered, and they're going to be moving forwards, obviously, into the lower bracket. I think that Shanghai Dragons, though, as well, obviously, don't really get too much of a break between now and the next match. It's going to be a difficult task for them because they're going to be approaching this from a completely different angle now. It's one thing to play against the New York Excelsior, but with Atlanta, they're very proficient in multiple different compositions. It's a hard task for them, but let's get into our player of the match presented by Xfinity. We're going to be handing it to, there could have been many players. Don't get me wrong here. There could have been many players we could have handed it to. But it's going to be going to Lee Jae-gon, I think, for the consistent Lucio play that we've seen throughout as well, when he was flexing over to a variety of other roles as well as the Vegeta. And yeah, just showcasing what he does best. I think, hopefully we got the Nano Boost clip as well, where he got that. No, we missed it. But
the
Boostio. Yeah, I mean, it's just this guy, very good, very solid main support player.
Yeah, I think also his Brigitte is incredible. It's something that gets overlooked a little bit, but it's probably, I mean, this is definitely a hot take, but in my opinion, I would consider the Brigitte his best hero, actually. Despite the fact that all of his flashy highlight clips end up coming out of the Lucio, but Lee Jae-gon's Brig is really solid. He's able to get a lot of value out of the character, even without really, even without putting himself in harm's way a lot. But here's his statistics on Lucio overall. I mean, soundbar efficiency right up at the top there as well, with quite a low deaths per 10 minutes. Just a good overall game from the entirety of Shanghai.
Absolutely. That's what I'm saying. I mean, we could literally have given it out to, I think, a lot of players on Shanghai. In this moment, we decided to highlight Lee Jae-gon. And yeah, hopefully continuing this kind of performance and dominant Shanghai Dragons in their next match. They're going to be wondering, okay, well, now we've got a pretty difficult task ahead of us in the form of the Atlanta Reign as a team. Now, obviously, we have an interview before that with Izayaki, so maybe we can glean some insight. That's going to be quite nice. But overall, that's going to be it from us, at least for me and Josh. We're going to be sending you on to greener pastures as well. The Watchpoint crew is going to be detailing as well and breaking down our last match of the day. And of course, Mitch and Matt is also going to be bringing you the action with that one. So don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. Even more Overwatch League action coming up right after this one. You don't want to miss it.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
Welcome to Game Break presented by Cheez-It Grooves. You're joined now by Izayaki from Shanghai Dragons. Izayaki, congratulations on your win today and nice to see you. I've missed you. 이자키 선수 승리 너무 축하드리고요. 보고 싶었습니다. 오랜만이네요.
아 정말 오랜만이네요. 한 1년 정도 지났나요? 네, 엄청 반갑고요. 엄청 오랜만에 뵙게 되어서 너무 영광입니다.
Yeah. I think it's been about a year since I've talked to you, since I last talked to you, so it's really great to talk to you again. And yeah, thank you so much for having me. All right, let's jump right into the questions. So today, your match against the NYXL, it was a fast 3-0 sweep for the Shanghai Dragons. How did you guys prepare for the NYXL after a suffocating loss against the Dallas Fuel yesterday? 오늘 경기, 뉴욕과의 경기 굉장히 좀 빠른 3-0으로 승리를 거두시게 되셨는데요. 어제 경기는 그렇게 쉽지만은 않았습니다. 0대3 좀 상하이 팀에게 그렇게 좋지 않은 결과로 패배를 겪고서는 오늘 경기로 들어오시는 거였는데 그 패배 이후 좀 어떻게 준비를 해서 오늘 뉴욕을 이길 수 있었나요?
일단은 뉴욕이 어떤 조합을 쓸 거라고 예상하지 못했고 일단은 모든 조합을 쓸 거라는 가정하에 조합에 대한 얘기를 하였고 그리고 그냥 그 조합에 간파하는 것과 그리고 일단은 먼저 어떤 선수가 나오는지가 제일 중요했던 것 같아요. 그 선수들이 나오는 거에 따라서 조합이 달라질 거라고 예상했기 때문에 네, 그냥 조합에 대한 얘기를 했습니다.
Alright, so long story short, we really talked a lot about what comps the NYXL was going to use because they have been using a lot of different variety of compositions in this meta and in the June Joust. We sort of had that in mind. We sort of prepared that, you know, whatever NYXL brings to us, we have to be prepared to sort of fight against their composition. More than that, I think also on the same line, we sort of wanted to focus on the players as well because it's really important on the NYXL side which players are on the starting 6 because we could sort of figure out what composition they are going to be using or utilizing with the players that are out on the field. So we sort of short answer, composition and players were sort of the two things that we really kept in mind going into today's match. All right, my second question for you is what was the thought process behind using the same comp that sort of didn't work out against the Dallas Fuel yesterday, against NYXL today? 두 번째 질문은 이제 조합에 대한 좀 질문을 조금 더 하고 싶어요. 제가 그 레킹볼 조합을 어제 달라스 팀과의 그 경기에서도 쓰셨고 그때는 좀 별로 그렇게 잘 통하진 않았지만 이번에도 또 똑같은 조합을 들고 나왔는데요. 이 레킹볼 조합을 계속 좀 이렇게 고집하는 이유가 따로 있나요?
첫 번째로 일단은 저희가 엄청 어떤 조합을 해도 잘한다고 생각하긴 하는데 그래도 조합 안에서 상성이라는 게 존재하기 때문에 저희는 그 지금 댈러스나 애틀랜타가 쓰고 있는 그 윈턴 조합의 상성을 레킹볼이라고 생각하고 그리고 계속 쓰는 이유는 그냥 더 좋은 것 같아서 계속 쓰고 있는 것 같습니다.
Alright, so I believe us Shanghai Dragons are really good at any composition in the current meta, but there are certain compositions that are stronger than other compositions. So it was sort of a way for us to counter the Dallas and Atlanta's composition. So basically, I believe, or Shanghai Dragons team does believe, we do believe that the Wrecking Ball composition is the counter to the Moira Lucio composition that Dallas and Atlanta and the NA teams are currently using. So that is a reason, and also I also believe that the Wrecking Ball composition is best suited for the Shanghai Dragons. So that is why we continuously roam with that composition. All right. That is it for the player interview. Izayaki, thank you so much, and we will see you soon. 인터뷰에서 너무 감사드리고요. 좀 이따 뵙도록 하겠습니다.
네, 감사합니다.
All right, let's head back to the desk.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Danny, and of course, congratulations to the Shanghai Dragons. A very, very convincing performance here against the opposition NYXL. So, I do want to get both of your thoughts on the answers Izayaki just gave. However, do we discuss the match first, or do you guys want to have a quick shot at that? I don't know. I'll leave it up to you guys.
Match? Johnny, you want to go first? Do the match first, Costa?
Match. Yeah, let's go match first. Let's get that one out of the way. Right. It was a lopsided affair, as lopsided as they get. Jonathan, unfortunately, NYXL was as matched. They got voted off the island very quickly.
Voter of the Hawaii Islands, real quick. Yeah. I mean, the Shanghai Dragons, there's a reason they are the best team in APAC, and they showed it clearly here against the York Excelsior today. Shanghai Dragons, while, you know, they've been playing this Wrecking Ball composition, they've been playing the Echo, they've been playing the Reaper, they still have phenomenal players on this team. I mean, they have incredible individual skill, players like Lip, players like Void. Say what you want about Fate, but he's actually been playing the Wrecking Ball correctly when he's picked it. So this is a stacked roster. I'm not very surprised to see them walk away with the win here today. New York Excelsior, they did play the right, quote-unquote, the right compositions by opting into this Echo Reaper, but it didn't look like they had enough time to really polish it up. Didn't look like they had enough time to practice this composition. And Shanghai Dragons, they are so skilled that they will expose that weakness of yours. They will bring their team synergy and their individual skill to this matchup, and they will take you down. That's what happened in this matchup here.
Okay. What? Do you want me to talk about the elephant in the room of what is the you just said?
No, you know what? I think I can tie this into, like, let's be really clever about it, because it's Crunch Time presented by Cheesy Groups and Costa. Shanghai's comms did not work against the Dallas Fuel yesterday. Like, they really didn't. Yeah. They worked very well against NYXL today, and according to Izayaki, that is the comp to go with if you want to play against that Rush comp. Now you go.
Okay, so obviously, that was actually a very good interview by Danny, because that gave us insight into what is happening in the Shanghai Dragons comp. Even though they lost to Dallas Fuel in a very convincing fashion playing the Rush, they still believe in the style that they're playing. We still saw Fate playing a lot of this Wrecking Ball. Even in the Lucio Moira comps, we saw a lot of Fleta Soldier today. I'm not 100% sold on either of these comps. Yes, it worked against NYXL, but as Johnny just said, that doesn't mean it works, because NYXL just weren't polished, they weren't ready to deal with this. When we saw Dallas Fuel play this Rush comp against them, it just fell apart for the Shanghai Dragons. So the question is, I don't even need to justify the reasons why I don't think it works. We've talked about it at length. They now have to make it work against the Atlanta Reign. Atlanta Reign looks very good right now, playing the Rush comps and playing the Shield comps, which Shanghai Dragons have also been good at. Shanghai Dragons have to prove that this Wrecking Ball and this, Soldier style is going to be strong enough to slow down this Lucio Moira composition, because I really don't believe in it.
It sounds like you're not giving it the seal of crunch.
No, not crunchy at all. Not crunchy. It's crunchy for them, right? Because this is a make or break decision from the Shanghai Dragons.
Yeah, but you make it sound
team.
like this chip has been out in the open for like 5 days. Like,
well, it didn't work yesterday.
Yeah,
it didn't work yesterday, and that's sort of my point. Is they're like, oh, this comp works, but they got rolled yesterday. It wasn't like, oh yeah, just a couple of team fights would have gone our way. Like, they got rolled by the Dallas Fuel playing the Lucio Moira. It might be enough to get over the Atlanta Reign, but I don't see this style that Dragons are playing getting over the Dallas Fuel, even if they do beat Atlanta.
But it's
how do you feel about that, Reinforce?
Yeah.
Will it be enough against Atlanta Reign, based on what we've seen from the Reign earlier today?
I think the key to victory here for the Shanghai Dragons is just to destroy the Atlanta Reign's mental. Like, really, that is the win condition for the Shanghai Dragons. Because if we look at the gameplay, if we review the VODs, I think Atlanta Reign by far has been the better team of these two. Now, Atlanta Reign, they're coming off a brutal loss against the Dallas Fuel, and that's never the mindset you want to be in as a player. You've had some time to think about your mistakes. Shanghai Dragons, they're coming off a 3-0 win against the New York Excelsior. That feels good, you're vibing, you got some adrenaline going, you feel good about yourself. Meanwhile, the Atlanta Reign, they're like, oh, we should have done this. Maybe they start overthinking things. It's a bit of a trap game for the Atlanta Reign, because you don't want to be stuck in that bad PMA energy. You don't want to be stuck in like feeling sorry for yourself or thinking about your past mistakes. The Shanghai Dragons, they're coming off a win. They got nothing to lose. They're coming into this matchup playing what the compositions they believe in, and that is going to be the win conditions for Shanghai Dragons. Just ruthless confidence in their own game, and maybe the Atlanta Reign will fall flat. That's how I see Shanghai winning this game, if anything, Zoe.
Okay, they just need to live their own reality, thinking that this is the comp.
Hey, it works. Overconfidence works.
Zoe. I'm not against that. It's a good approach. Now let's actually take a look at our predictions to see where we're leaning. It's a Team Red versus a different Team Red. That's a different one we haven't had today or any time in this June Joust Tournament. So I don't know. Which order are we going? Am I first? I just go first.
I've started every time today, sorry.
Yeah, no, that's why I take this one. Well, I go Atlanta. I honestly think that Shanghai Dragons might be blinded by the success they just had against NYXL, and given how close Atlanta Reign played this very comp against the Dallas Fuel, and how hard Dallas Fuel beat down these comps when they played against Shanghai Dragons, it goes full circle. I think Atlanta Reign will make it look exactly like Dallas Fuel did yesterday.
Yeah, and we see Danny goes for Atlanta Reign. He's agreeing with Soy. Personally, I'm going with Atlanta Reign again. I do think we're not giving the Shanghai Dragons enough credit for just being the Shanghai Dragons. They have world-class players in every single role. If they are going to get the edge, in my opinion, it's going to be just off of top-tier performances and the lack of experience that the Atlanta Reign have in the playoffs when it all matters. So I am going for the Atlanta Reign, though.
Yep, and I agree as well. Atlanta Reign for me. I think they're the better team. Simple as that. Shanghai Dragons, maybe there's upset potential. They do have the caliber of players, but Atlanta Reign remain the favorite, so I predict them as well. So.
Well, let's head towards the action at least, as we're handing in once again over to our casters. Of course, we're talking about Mr. X and Mitch. Mitch, you're carrying the world on your shoulders today, I just noticed.
They call me Mr. Worldwide, baby. Cue the track.
No, they don't.
Let's go.
Who calls you that?
Play it again.
Who calls you that?
Nobody. Nobody's ever
do.
said that.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, look at me.
Nobody's ever said
The
that.
whole damn planet on me, fam.
Yeah.
Oh, good luck. I like it.
Can we do a geography segment with Matt, where Matt tries to guess the countries?
You know what it is? It's
on
the types
shirt?
of soil. Yeah, apparently it's the types of soil. But I tell you what. Yeah, I
Oh,
don't
soil
really.
live. Love it.
Ah,
That's
yes.
right. Yeah, I am.
all the oil, all the soil. Yeah.
Listen, I've seen Matt's jumpers. He knows all about being soiled. But can we just admit that we don't know what Shanghai are really trying to achieve with this ball comp, and that's maybe why we underrate them a little bit?
They may not know what they're trying to achieve with it. So the comp is weird. The comp is just odd. It's clearly they believe in it. Something that Johnny mentioned, though, that is true. Like, you can be so delusionally confident as like a team that like it just works. And I'm a little bit worried about Atlanta coming off of the loss. We were on the other stream, we were co-streaming. And you saw a lot of the players take that loss really hard for the Atlanta Reign, and it's a fast turnaround. They've had, especially with how fast the last series is. I mean, you may have thought you had an hour, you probably had like 40 minutes, but like to get back in there and go again against a team that's just coming off a 3-0 is tough. So I think if Shanghai is going to win this series, they got to take advantage of just playing a series and take some of that freshness into this one. But I still favor Atlanta, though. I'd be kind of shocked.
Thank you for repeating what I said on the desk, Matt.
Yes, Johnny was
I didn't listen to what you say, so I didn't hear it.
He was pointing more towards the mental side of things as well. I kind of like that.
I said you were right. I said you were right, and you mentioned it.
You have to credit him, though, Matt.
Yeah, he's so angry, after all the years of him competing. He's always so angry. So everybody tells me about Johnny. They're like, why is Johnny so angry? You're always so nice to him on the show.
How am I angry? I'm in like a flower dress shirt,
Johnny,
talking about Overwatch all day. I'm loving it. I got a sunset behind me. It's great.
Now he's yelling at me.
All right, Matt. Okay, that's enough gaslighting for now. Let's talk about some Overwatch here. Thank you very much, Watchpoint Desk. We'll check back in with you after this one. Look, I think Matt, you are going to cause some serious, there could be some emotional damage over the time you spent with John. You can't gaslight him there like that, bro. You can't do it. This matchup, though, you both agree on one thing, Matt, and it's that there's like a significant mental component here for the Atlanta Reign. Johnny says that Shanghai need to, make use of that. You seem to think that obviously, it's, I don't know, man. It is like 40 minutes, right? The break that they get between matches is a stomp. It's not even a long match to give them time to breathe.
Yeah, I also agree with Johnny, though, that like Atlanta is a superior team at the moment. They can play the rush style, which I think we saw them play against Dallas Fuel better than I expected. They actually committed to it by keeping Edison in the game a lot. And they can play a lot of things that aren't, the Moira Lucio kind of rush style. They play a lot of, Arisa Diva. They can play, Pakayan, play the long-range hit scan. They have so many different looks that I think that's where I would worry if I'm Shanghai. Because let's say, for argument's sake, they came out and played the rush. They're able to take advantage of Shanghai, right? What if Shanghai tries to pull something, so we take a look at the Shanghai roster, like they did the other day and go to like a Volskaya? You could have an Arisa setup come in, for the Atlanta Reign, which, you know, Shanghai can have to move off of that, and then Atlanta just goes to their, you know, Winston rush with the Reaper in the mix. So Shanghai, we know how good of a team they are. We know how good of a caliber of players these are as well. It might just not be their meta. Banking on the Wrecking Ball comp coming up big.
Absolutely. The first time we sort of saw it at the start of the June Joust, it was on a control map, and you saw how hard it was for the Dragons to make that one work. Now, the Atlanta Reign have had a difficult realization, I think. They kept Edison in that series, which kind of made me think, the series against the Fuel, of course, it kind of made me think they're admitting that they can't get away with playing that sort of Orisa-based comp with Kai on some sort of hit scheme. Now, don't be alarmed here, because Atlanta always start the series with Edison, so there's a chance that we get to see that come back. But do you think that was Atlanta admitting, hey, we can't get away with, you know, playing these comps. We have to try and match this rush comp?
I actually think, yes, I think it probably is a little bit of an admission, but I also think they win the control playing the rush against Dallas, and that's the only map they get. They probably felt like they were a little bit closer than they maybe expected in the mirror. I think that's a realistic possibility, and I wouldn't be surprised if they went and played that in this series. They saw how effective it was against Shanghai Dragons the other day for the Dallas Fuel. I don't think there's a reason that Atlanta Reign couldn't mirror that. We know how good Pelican is, you know, in the Echo. We've seen Hawk be tremendous throughout this tournament. They can easily replicate what the Dallas Fuel did.
And the Atlanta Reign, they may not have to as well. I mean, this is not necessarily a series where Atlanta get forced into playing that rush style. They might actually get to play the style that maybe is more comfortable for them, the style that comes more naturally, which, as we've seen, is the one that sort of features Orisa and then Ty getting subbed in. I guess the thing is that, you know, it's rarely a great thing where a team can telegraph their intent based on their substitution choices, but that was the case for Atlanta in their matchup against the Dallas Fuel. Lijiang Tower is where it begins, and I'm quite sure that Lee Jae-gon is very pleased about this. And tough to back up the performance we saw from him the other night on this map, but you always know he's going to be dangerous on the Lucio when it comes to Lijiang Tower.
Oh, absolutely. He's going to be searching for the boops here. I know. I think this is a huge map. If Atlanta is able to win this, I think you feel even better about them for the remainder of the series. I think this is Shanghai's real opportunity to, you know, scare Atlanta a bit. Take this map, right? You know, you're coming in hot off of a series already. They're coming off of a really tough series, a loss against Dallas. I think you can kind of use this as a momentum shifter if you are Shanghai and you're able to get this first map.
This is an elimination match featuring the top seeds from the East and the West, respectively. Only one of these teams will get a chance to take on the Dallas Fuel. Either we get a rematch of the May Melee Finals, or the Atlanta Reign get a second bite at the Fuel, a second chance to show that their take on the meta is the superior one. Here on Lijiang Tower, obviously, you know, we see the Dragons go for a couple of different options. We know they can play their Wrecking Ball here on control maps. Some of these stages won't exactly lend themselves to that Wrecking Ball style. But here on Night Market, it's all on the table.
Yes, you could play like a Symmetra here if you wanted to, if you're Shanghai. We've seen that, not really kind of comboed with a McCree, but you know, we have seen weird. We'll have so this is the double hit scan. So
with Orisa.
And this is because they ran this with the Ana instead of the Batiste, and then the Ball instead of the Orisa the other day. So yeah, 76 with the McCree, the Lucio in the mix. Very easy dive target. So, but Fleda's gonna get 2 straight off the rip.
Yeah, the first kill, I think they noticed that Pelican's playing off towards the side and is waiting for an engagement. Here, Pelican wanted to be the second to get involved in the fight so he could flank, but I think the Dragons noted him, and honestly, there's a lot of mobility. Flatter runs on in there. He's able to get that kill, but there's more than just him finding it, Matt. Great start for Shanghai, and that's a little bit of a vulnerability getting picked on for Atlanta.
Well, now if you're Atlanta, though, you have this coalescence. This is where you can try and take advantage of the stagnant composition that they have. Lip gets taken out, not able to get out of harm's way. And now if you move towards the point, this is where you have an even bigger advantage if you're the Atlanta Reign.
Lee Jae-gon getting a little bit too close to the Atlanta Reign there, gets punished for it. And I don't think the Dragons have much to do here after losing a player as early as they did. I think it was Lip that just got pressured with the Coalescence dive. The Reign are in control.
And this is kind of, obviously very, very early, but this is kind of shades of what we saw in the Shanghai Dallas series where, like, yeah, sure, Shanghai was able to get the point at times and, you know, win a team fight or so, but they were never able to take control of the game against this comp. Like, sure, they had their moments.
It was every now and then a team fight here and there.
Right.
That was it. Lip as a Deadeye here is, we'll use it straight away to corral the Atlanta Reign, at least onto the point, but they're happy to do that. They had to back away somewhat as Lip picks his head through the doorway. Pelican was duplicated, but gets taken out of the mech. He'll have a chance to get back into that one and then a chance to build up that self-destruct. In fact, he already had it. Supercharger goes down there. Immortality Field also removed, and it's Flatter and Fate falling in the Atlanta Reign. Now they're starting to stretch their legs a little bit, Matthew.
And if you don't get on the players of the Atlanta Reign fast and try and get these kills, you're just with the double hit scan letting Iris just charge up his Coalescence. A change here from Shanghai, so we'll see them on the Echo Reaper with the Wrecking Ball composition. I know 70% on the point though here, Mitch. You change this at this moment. You're gonna get like what, 2 fights here, and you may not even get some of these ultimates depending on how this fight goes.
Oh, there it is, Flatter flies a little bit too close to Edison there. He just teleports forward and goes for the Death Blossom. Void will be able to get back in the mech there, and Master has gone down. Fate can only really tickle people from the back of the point, but it's enough of a distraction to get Edison to turn his head. Iris is down, and that's no healing left for the Atlanta Reign here. The Dragons brawl their way into the point, not a moment too soon at that.
So they are able to flip here, Shanghai. It is 1-fight territory, though, for the Atlanta Reign. Is Shanghai pushes up. They get a little bit aggressive here. You'll have the Coalescence to be traded by both teams. And you'll have the minefield here for Fate, so be used to kind of split players off in the choke or whatnot. For Shanghai, you want to make it through this without having to invest both support ults early.
Danger for Iris, yep. He gets blown up, he can't fade away, he can't get through the minefield. The perfect answer to the Coalescence. And now the Dragons have one of their own. Izayaki switched off the Batiste earlier. And that's frustrating stuff for Atlanta, losing a key support ultimate as they tried to take the initiative.
They both ended up using Coalescence, so it isn't the end of the world for Atlanta. Atlanta also now will have their sound barrier coming into this fight. The biggest ultimate and how they use it will probably be Pelican with the duplicate. Can he get the Diva and get a good use of it?
Once more, the Reign choose the front door. Fate already starting to wrap around behind him, as you can see there. The pile driver, he wants to pressure Iris. It's going to be a Death Blossom from Lip, but a good time sound barrier from the Reign. Keeps him alive from that ultimate, but not the Lip attack as it came after the fact. It's going to be Gator and Iris falling to him. He just gets into the back line there. The Death Blossom was just a distraction. And now the Dragons get to 90%, Matt. This is getting close.
And they're rolling now. As soon as they switched over and they started to play the Wrecking Ball into this, they have really played quite well. As Fleta with a duplicate here onto the Reaper. May just be to get away some extra HP.
Edison Death Blossom completely shut down by Void, and Lip is just going to take him down. Oh, this is not good for the Atlanta Reign. You see how they carry the emotion. It's not how they want to begin the series at all. Pelican beamed down as Fleta finds him in his hiding place. And a good start for the Shanghai Dragons. A lot of retooling of their composition across the round, though, Matt, but they get it done.
So what I find interesting is in the interview with Izayaki and Danny, he just said that he felt like, you know, the Wrecking Ball composition that they're running is the right composition to play against this Winston-based one that we've seen a lot of teams in NA running. And they played the double hit scan Orisa for most of that round before switching, right? They switched with Shanghai, with Atlanta, at like 70% of the point. They switched very late, but once they switch, it is all Shanghai. So I fully expect when they see Edison, obviously, they're not going to switch off of the Reaper comp. So you can play the ball if you are Shanghai, which they come out and do here.
Yeah, once more, Fate just doesn't want to tangle with the Winston. Nice sticky bomb coverage there across both Iris and Master. Takes him a little low. Fleta will garner the attention briefly of Hawk, who wards him off. If he can play from this off angle, he's quite happy here outside of the fact that he's about half health, but it's not an issue yet. Gator is low. Okay, good bubble timing there. Fleta could have gone for the focusing beam. In fact, he still can. Gator He's able to jump away.
And you see what the Wrecking Ball does. So the Wrecking Ball has really great personal survivability with the adaptive shield. This Lee Jae-gon gets so aggressive into the base of the Atlanta Reign. Great personal survivability. And you see what he just uses the pile drivers, split players off. You saw like 3 players sit by Fate. You had 2 players for Atlanta by the point. Just a disruption of the Wrecking Ball, just trying to create angles and opportunities for Fleta and Lit to capitalize on. And it's working so far here against Atlanta. This has to be scary if you're the Atlanta Reign.
The displacement clearly bothering Atlanta to some degree. This Coalescence is pressuring Void quite effectively. Izayaki going for one of his own, but Void is demeched. It's just kept alive with the sound barrier from Lee Jae-gon. Otherwise, that would have been no diva at all. Now Void has a chance to get back into his mech for now. Izayaki trying to keep Lit topped up as he's Wraith walking away. Goes for a death loss on there, but Edison finds one. Both Lucio's fall to the enemy Reaper ultimates. Hawk self-destruct, buys plenty of space for Edison now to clear some of those mines. Izayaki's going to fade away from the Reaper though.
The stall is so good though from Fate on the Wrecking Ball. He stepped off the point and nobody's there fast enough. You had both Fleta and Izayaki around, and I think Fate actually swings off of the point to go towards a health pack and thinks that somebody else is going to get on, but they don't. I was going to say, you could have stalled that for so much longer if you're Shanghai, because you had players coming off respawn. If Fleta would have just like flown in through the window, stayed up for a little bit, Izayaki fade on, you could have just kind of kept juggling that for the Dragons. But Atlanta, they get a big flip. That is massive, because that fight was going very long, and Atlanta now trying to get aggressive.
Focus on Lee Jae-gon was excellent there. We had Hawk's POV, but Data was also following up on that target. He jumps away from that self-destruct. Iris not nearly as lucky, rather Iris. Whether he had Fade or not, either way, you couldn't get away from the blast. Now the Atlanta Reign, they got Coalescence out of Iris at least. He might have been using an ultimate, that's why he fell. And Edison's able to clean up this fight. This is where things even up on cap percentage.
So this is what Dallas recognized the other day in the game that we casted. When they're going to play this composition, you're going to see like Fate run to one side or, kind of lead the team. He'll go away to try and set up a pile driver. Before you allow him, just don't be stable to go set up a pile driver. Initiate onto the Dragons without Fate in the mix. Yeah, just push them. And it forces him into a tough position where he's getting no value then. To sit here and allow him to dictate the game with these pile drivers, that's what'll get you in trouble.
Edison, trigger finger, looking for a chance to teleport forward. Is this it? Sound barrier is going to be there for Lee Jae-gon, but they've already lost Fate. Fleta stuck in the corner here. No chance for him. Master taken down again, a self-destruct. He got the beat off still, and Coalescence is in play for Iris. It's a messy fight, but it's one the Atlanta Reign prevail in. And now the Dragons are going to have to use that storm mechanic just to keep the round alive. That's Fate on that left-hand side of your screen. Here he comes.
Lee Jae-gon is there as well, as they'll get on the point and touch, but all you're going to have is the Coalescence. You probably end up building up here towards... oh, wow, that's actually going to be Fleta going down. You're going to build up towards a self-destruct as well, but things already not looking good for the Dragons off the start.
Izayaki has the Coalescence, but only 4 other players to keep alive. Not much staying power left here for the Shanghai Dragons. Fate's going to have to go for the pile driver, then slink away, but there's a Reaper right in his face, so this ball's reign should be short-lived. Lee Jae-gon rather still slinking towards the left-hand side. He cannot keep the point capped. And so we will go to a third round here on Lee Jae.
And I think you're starting to see the pattern where Dallas, when they didn't see Fate, they saw the rest of the team before they allowed him to set up the initiation with the pile driver. They ran into them and just kind of rolled them over. I think you're seeing that with Atlanta now as they have adjusted. This would be interesting, though. If Shanghai, I want to see this actually, to be honest. Shanghai coming out with the Wrecking Ball composition, Atlanta with the double shield. How does the Wrecking Ball work against this? With the change to the halt and being able to halt a little bit faster, maybe you're able to make it work if you're Atlanta. But it'll be a change from Shanghai here to play something eerily similar. So both teams going with a Symmetra. It'll be Pelican on the Doomfist, though, as Fleta plays the Reaper. I really wanted to see the ball into this to see how that would have played out.
Maybe a little too risky for Shanghai's liking. Fate, we've seen him play plenty of Orisa in his time. Look at the Symmetras in the front line. With 2 bubbles, or rather with 4 shields in play, Symmetra basically never has to reload and is always operating at peak efficiency when it comes to that beam damage. And Lip is quite happy to sit safe behind his own shields while melting Atlantis.
And the Doomfist can be quite effective here to get those rocket punches through the shields. That's the TP straight to the point. And chunk of damage coming down as Pelican line up, but it's Pelican get taken out by Lip.
And this is what happens now. Not only, of course, is Symmetra doing high damage, it means that those 4 barriers are a little bit more short-lived than usual, which means you have to be ready for them to just disappear. It's scary being in the front line in a Symmetra mirror for that reason. So much damage being thrown around. You saw that Pelican got a face full, man.
Yeah, and it's also a reason you play the Doomfist when the large wall of Symmetra goes down. The Doomfist is still pretty effective, right? It doesn't need the... it's going to be Iris getting taken out Izayaki right away. As he puts down his Amp Matrix, you're going to get nothing out of that now.
Pelican going to be using the wall to his advantage now. Doomfist thrives in this kind of scenario. He lines up Fate, sees that Lip is fairly charged, but Pelican's spacing himself fairly well from the enemy. Symmetra, Seismic Slam, and that is going to be Void knocked up into the air. The Atlanta Reign are well positioned to retake the point here, but 60% already on the docket for the Dragons.
Yep, really good first hold there for Shanghai. And we'll see Lip move away from the Symmetra and play the Doomfist now. So Doom Reaper, where you were with the Symmetra Reaper, that is like really defensive. You're not going to like engage with the Reaper because you can't really do that with either of the tanks. But now you want to show some aggression with the Doomfist. Pelican goes in with a big punch.
Lip there realized he had to back away. This is very defensive from Fleta. And it's a Death Blossom that finds no purchase. Lip, however, can't buy his way out of spawn after that one. It'll be a trade of Doomfists. Pelican's also fallen. Hawk, though, he is in the mix, and those Hyperspheres are causing problems. Fleta's gone down. Izayaki stock still for a moment, and Hawk thought to line him up, but now he'll be the one suspended in midair. Hit with an accretion as well, but still not taken down. Lip returns to the fight and makes a mincemeat of Masa. Coalescence for Iris kept Void low, but it's going to be the Dragons with the numbers right now. Pelican trying to go for something big here, but it's a 1v3 until the Orisa arrive, and that's just not fast enough.
Yeah, and I think Iris thought that he could keep Hawk alive through the Gravitic Flux from Void, but the Focus Fire was so good from Shanghai. As soon as Hawk hit the ground, then you just had your Coalescence there with Pelican and Edison still on the point. So now you come back here. So this will be the ball drop down from Symmetra on the Atlanta Reign, and this will be a supercharger here.
They're going to throw that one down using his barrier and the Symmetra wall to keep that alive, but it's not gone well. Izayaki finds 2. Let's going to come in with the Meteor Strike and make matters worse here for the Atlanta Reign and now the Dragons. They're on the precipice of taking this first map away. Atlanta out-brawled the Dallas Fuel, but this is a different landscape, a different composition, and they can't even touch. The Shanghai Dragons take Lijiang Tower.
And this is a huge map, like we were talking about. Really big for the confidence of the Shanghai Dragons. They saw how well Atlanta had played against Dallas. And this is tough for Atlanta. You win the first map against Dallas, you lose the next 3. Now you've lost this one 4 maps in a row for Atlanta in the same day. I also think as well, I really like Atlanta in the Winston-based comps against Shanghai. I think once we deviate from that and we kind of go away from the the NA meta and it gets a little bit more chaotic, I think that's where Shanghai can really thrive in this series. I think if you're Shanghai and they want to play stuff that's not, that Winston-based rush, you're totally fine with that. You don't have to play those Wrecking Ball compositions like you saw in that final map where they really paid off.
Well, bear in mind, it is loser pick here, so the Atlanta Reign have their chance to pick something that suits them just a little bit better in map number 2. It was all over Iris's face when they lost that match earlier today. There's fire in the bellies of the Atlanta Reign, but it takes more than that to char the Dragons' hides. Stick around, ladies and gentlemen, because map number 2 in this lower bracket final is coming up next.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest and fastest 5G network. Set your sights on the competition with T-Mobile.